This is a Gleeok, the Legend of Zelda's new hardest boss, and I love them. I don't know if it's just because of how terrifying they are or how cool they look, but my first time running through the North Tabantha snowfield, I saw one and immediately knew that challenging it would be a mistake. So today I will be proving that I should not be scared of these awesome creatures by trying to defeat one without any weapons at all, meaning no bows, shields, or melee weapons, but also I can't throw things at it like bombs. Basically, if Link ever holds something that is directly doing damage to the Gleeok, I have to reset. But you may be wondering, how can you deal damage to kill one of these things without any weapons? And the answer is Zonai devices. Seems simple, right? Well, not exactly, because there are 4 types of Gleeok, one for each element: Thunder, Frost, and Flame, as well as the King Gleeok, which has 1 head for each of these elements. And I am, of course, going to be trying to kill a King Gleeok because it is just generally stronger and especially much more dangerous when it enters its second phase. But that'll be a problem later on. For now, it's a problem because there's only 3 of them that spawn in the overworld, and all of them are on these tiny little islands that are very high up. So I had to figure out how to not only get up to one of these islands, but get to it with a Zonai device that is capable of killing a Gleeok, and started by just testing some designs. The first thing I wanted to try was to make a flying machine with as many beam emitters as possible attached to it, and fortunately the island that I would be using as a starting point to reach the island with the King Gleeok on it had a large wooden board, and I figured it would be perfect for the base of my contraption. I attached the steering stick to the board and 8 fans around it so it would fly, giving me 10 things attached at once, and with 21 being the max you can put together, I had room for a square of 9 beam emitters on the front, which would be my only method of dealing damage, and a construct head underneath, allowing them to focus on any enemies nearby and hit them with the laser beams. So it was time to do a little testing, and I took off toward the island hoping to anger the dragon and then fly in circles around it while the beam emitters slowly wore down its health, and this was how it went. Please don't break my board. That does start hitting it. Oh, that is tragic. In a just awful turn of events, everything has exploded in my face. Okay, so apparently I need something more than just that board. Now, that clearly didn't go well, but one thing that did surprise me was just how little battery I used in the whole process, and with the combination of the Zonai armor, which makes you use energy more efficiently, and some large Zonai charges, which restore your energy completely and give you a lot extra, it looked like I wouldn't have to worry about battery much at all. But back to the root of the problem, as I figured if I found a way to change the base of my flying machine from wood to something more durable, I would be fine, and soon after I'd found exactly what I was looking for. Because I remembered that on this little island was one of these stone or metal, I'm not really sure what it is, but all that matters is that they don't break when hit with one of the Gleeok's elemental beams. So rather than finding a way to bring it all the way back up to the other island, I just attached it to a steering stick and used auto build to spawn the strong material platform anywhere I wanted, and rebuilt almost the exact same thing I had before, but instead on the square thing I just got. I flew back up only to get noticed and immediately hit out of the sky because while the machine stayed intact, Link takes knockback when hit and my contraption plummeted down to the North Tabantha snowfield below. This made it very clear to me that flying around it was just not going to work, but I had one last idea to use one of these large square platforms, which if you don't know, float, and you can just put them in the air and stand on them and they will just stay there. So I figured that maybe if I put my contraption on top of one of them and then launched it into the sky, I would be able to take off from higher up, hoping to get over top of the island and be able to just get back on my flying machine and keep hitting it. And yeah, it didn't go well because my flying machine just weighed down the platform and slid off the top of it. Did it just fall off? You're kidding, dude. This put me completely back to the drawing board, so I decided to instead build a basic turret of 12 beam emitters and a construct head all on top of a hoverstone and saved it in my auto build history. And instead of combining the thing that would damage the Gleeok and my way of getting to the island, I separated them, flying up to the island on a simple hoverbike where the dragon immediately started attacking me, but I realized that it auto-saved when I landed, so by reloading the same save, I was able to buy much needed time to build my machine before the Gleeok noticed me. Now, I tried to build the contraption with real materials instead of having to use the absurd 45 Zonai that it would take to build it automatically, but I ended up not having quite enough time to build it before getting decimated by the Gleeok's beams. So I just ate the 45 Zonite and built the machine, turned it on and started doing damage to the Gleeok, and then it immediately started just shooting off in some random direction, not even remotely close to the Gleeok. Confused, I decided to try to make a variant that had a rocket attached to it so it would launch into the sky above the Gleeok and no matter what be able to hit it. I learned soon after that if you are not within a certain range of a Zonite device, it will just deactivate and shut off. It also didn't help that it still wasn't hitting the Gleeok. But with little success so far, it was clear that I needed a better design and tried replacing the beam emitters with cannons, which was less effective because instead of doing constant damage, it would just shoot in intervals. When finally, I landed on a design that was at least somewhat effective. With 5 beam emitters on either side of the hoverstone, the machine was able to hit the Gleeok from almost anywhere, and on my first try with the new design, I got it down to about half health by just running around it while the device chipped away at it. But then, at almost exactly half health, was the first major problem. That being that the Gleeok can just destroy all of the Zonite devices in the area with a roar. Just evaporated. Gone. Meaning I would have to either build 2 of them, one in the middle of the fight, or find another solution. So I reset and quickly went to a Zonite dispenser to get more beam emitters to make another contraption, but this time one with 3 beam emitters on all 4 sides of the hoverstone so it would cover every angle, but when I tested it out, it was roared away in an instant. It just melts all the Zonite machines in the area, and I don't know how to get past that. It was very clear that the biggest problem for this challenge would be the roar that gets rid of my only means of doing damage, and if I could find a way to avoid it, I would be able to keep one contraption for the whole challenge, because I didn't want the solution to just be get 200 Zonite and then rebuild another machine whenever it makes one disappear, because that's, simply put, boring. So I did some brainstorming and landed on a new design, almost exactly the same as the one before, but instead of 12 beam emitters I put 17, because I figured that if I could simply kill the Gleeok faster, it wouldn't be able to roar and get rid of my device. I headed up to the island to test, and you would think that just 5 beam emitters wouldn't make that big of a difference, but it certainly did, and in no time at all, the Gleeok was at half health when finally, the inevitable roar came, destroying my machine. There really seemed to be no way around this, but I kept trying just to see if I needed another big change, and on the very next try, something magical happened. It started like usual with the device getting it down to about half health while I kept it distracted by running around. And that was exactly it, because as long as the Gleeok was focused on Link, it never had time to roar to make my machine disappear. And as I passed the furthest I had made it before, it was losing health fast, and then fell from the sky, allowing my lasers to deal a good amount of damage to it while it was on the ground. But I was not prepared for it to just fall and still have no clue why it did, so I couldn't do anything to damage it more, and just watched as it got back up and entered its second phase. And this is where I thought the challenge would end. Because after much deliberation, I decided to just reset, because there was simply no way to get up to the Gleeok with it being so high up while it was raining lightning and icicles. It seemed that there would be no way to kill it if it got into its second phase, so the solution? Just kill it faster, I guess. But that was easier said than done, and did attempt after attempt, which made it clear to me that this was the superior device to anything before it, as it melted the dragon's health like no other, but each time, it seemed like I ran into a new problem. Like this one, where I thought I had a good run and kept it distracted the whole time. But then the Gleeok just absolutely bodied my contraption with its tail. So I tried over and over when I came very close again a few attempts later when I got it down pretty low, but while fixing the machine because I ran out of battery unknowingly, it stopped attacking me and flew up, forcing me to reset. And the only thing that made me think that this was still even possible was because of that one attempt where the Gleeok got knocked from the sky. I figured if that happened again, I could capitalize, but I kept having these attempts where I would keep it from roaring and doing a ton of damage to it, but it would still fly up and get out of range when it went into its second phase. Like, look at how low it got here. It was so close. I also started drinking a speed boosting elixir each time, which helped a ton, and kept trying, getting closer each time when finally it happened. I did everything right in the beginning, keeping it distracted so it couldn't roar. Then it got to the point where I always failed. As its health dropped below a quarter and it was still attacking me, I knew that there was a chance, and with some luck and good planning, the Gleeok fell. proving that you don't need any fancy weapons to kill these beasts. All you need is 17 beam emitters and a lot of battery.